today we're going to dive into the Season 2 Reloaded patch notes, see what changes they're telling us are going to happen, see kind of what's happened the first day and a half of implementation, and find some of those bugs and kind of see what changes this brings to the gameplay, meta, things like that. So we have to start with the fact Activision and Raven have been saying they're going to be light on content and going deeper and deeper into fixing bugs, Ricochet, all of that sort of stuff. We should be getting a bit of help with Ricochet. The Reloaded was what they've intimated earlier, but a full-on push on Ricochet going into Season 3 when hopefully Verdansk drops. We'll see how that goes. I'm all for it if they fix the game. That's the key, though. Let's dive into it. Talking about 6 weapons, new attachment, new perk, more, okay. And the Turtles collab, which looks kind of fun, but we'll see how she goes. Usually just some cosmetics, nothing too major or anything crazy like that. We get a playlist update. You know, the biggest complaint I've seen about this one so far is the idea of not having trios and BR if you don't want to play ranked. A lot of people aren't liking this idea because, you know, maybe you've only got 2 friends online right now and you want to rock BR. Now, as a Rebirth main, I don't care because I've got Rebirth in every squad size I could ever want, but the community as a whole is split on this one, right? You've got to take care. I mean, if you're a BR, be a BR, right? Don't skip the whole idea of trios is only for the sweats. It's not. I think they're missing on this one. General updates. Combat records are back. Don't know why those ever left. That just seems stupid. So originally, right after this was a line about loadout drops. Actually more of a section, really. And here's kind of what I have to say. I'll show it to you on screen right here. If a player has already accessed a specific loadout drop crate and then dies, they will not be able to return to that exact same loadout drop crate to reacquire new weapons. They will either need to return to their dropped weapons as indicated by the skull icon on the map, acquire a new loadout drop, purchase their weapons from the buy station, or find a favorite supply box. Well, let's just say this went over like a lead balloon. The community was furious. We had casuals, pros alike saying this was stupid. The Rebirth Reaper comes out and says it might be the worst mechanic update in the history of Resurgence. I kind of said I don't think there's a might be involved. As we get further down the line, we're going to touch on something here, but next mentions about how they fixed this, which nobody was asking for it, before they fixed Mountaineer. Nobody was asking for this change. Nobody. No pros, no casuals, nobody. I had never heard of or seen or read anywhere anybody complaining that you shouldn't be able to go back and get your loadout a second time. Never heard of it. Never even thought it was something to be considered. To their credit, a few hours later after releasing the patch notes on the 19th, they immediately took it back. As you can see, it's not even in these patch notes any longer. But what this does is it goes back to the whole idea of Call of Duty, Activision not listening to their community. It's just stupid. It's ridiculous. I don't know what they are doing, and I don't think they are either. Anyway, thanks for listening to my TED Talk. Let's get back to it. Weapon trade station balancing. So trade's not downgraded, but only 1. Okay. You know, going from legendary goes to epic, so on and so forth. I mean, that's kind of good, but they've sped up the time. You know, that's not something I ever did a ton of. Something I've been trying to integrate, though, more. Being aware of things like during the fire sale for grumblings that if you trade, you get a golden gas mask, which can be good for endgame. Things like that. I don't know how big of a deal this one is, but the speed up could be good. Loadout drop markers no longer take priority when pinging your items. So if you're trying to ping some stuff, the loadout marker was kind of getting in the way, making that's what was getting pinged, and that would cause some issues. So hopefully they've cleaned that up a bit, makes it a little easier to ping what you're intending to. We'll see how that goes as well. Stamina bar. It's been a multiplayer. Why is this taking so long? You do have to go to settings to enable it, which I think you should do immediately. I've got to remember to do it myself. Just keeps you an idea of when you're going to lose that tax point. I think it's a great quality of life change. Again, we'll see implementation if it bugs anything else. It seems like they've gone ahead and fixed the idea that if I've got my loadout has, let's say for myself, I run stims and throwing knives. If I pick up a loadout, when I've got those in my inventory before getting it, it just adds them to my count. That just doesn't make too much sense or anything. Hey, rather than having to loop, run away, loop back, and go through the pile of stuff sitting there in order to pick them back up. Auto pickup lethal tactical. If a player has empty lethal tactical, they will automatically pick something up. I mean, I guess on one hand it's good. better to have something than nothing. Not sure how I totally feel, because, yeah, we'll see. We'll have to see it practical. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. Kill cam, a short delay has been added to the start of the kill cam to prevent players from accidentally skipping to the next player. Okay, I mean, I can see that one a little bit, although my spectating my teammates has never worked properly. I will die, and then it just sits there saying spectating so-and-so, and it's just standing from the POV where I was down. Like, I've got to, like, cycle through all, like, 19 things before I can actually get somebody to watch. I don't know whether that's a me thing or if you've experienced it. If you've seen a workaround, let me know. Airspace 2 crowded notification. Message will also display when equipping a kill streak based on where the player is looking. So I guess theoretically what that means is that if you hit your button to pull out your PA, it's going to tell you right then and there that it's too crowded. You don't have to, you know, try to deploy it and pull it up and look down the sights in the viewfinder. That could be helpful, although I know that it just seems stupid with how often the, you know, airspace is too crowded. I've run into it and seen where it's saying that, you know, you have to wait 0 seconds, and you still have to wait 0 seconds, and you still have to wait 0 seconds, and so that just seems wholeheartedly bugged. We'll see if they can fix that part of it as well, although there's no mention of it here. XP text adjustment. XP text was too close to the center of the screen, adjusted for better. Yeah, because sometimes it would pop up right in the middle of, you know, the people you're fighting, right in your sight line, and would kind of interfere with your ability to see the gunfight you're getting into, and would cause some issues. So hopefully they have moved that to a part of the screen where it's not going to interfere with that. Disconnect icon scoreboard. I'm not sure where about that one. Gulag kill feed icon. A distinct kill feed icon has been added to the Gulag kill feed icon. So it's a distinct icon that's been added to differentiate between eliminations in the Gulag and in the field, which can be helpful if you know your teammates gone to the Gulag and you can see in your kill feed on the side of the screen there that they won in the Gulag, knowing they're coming back. That combining that with, you can now see teammates' eliminations both in and out of the Gulag. They go work hand in hand there, and having that sort of differentiation can be helpful for sure. And just knowing that your teammate has won in the Gouge and coming back. D-pad functionality in Winner Circle. You can now kind of go through your menus, go to play again, play game squad, all those sorts of stuff with the D-pad, and it doesn't just automatically do your emotes in the Winner Circle and Warzone with using the D-pad. Okay, I like that because I've always used the D-pad to cycle through my menu. Some recon drone damage feedback, loot distribution of perk packs. So made some improvements to how perk packs overlap with other items when dropping to death, so they're not stacking on top of each other and you can get the part you want. Again, we'll see how it plays out, but that sounds good. It sounds like something that need to be addressed absolutely. Enemy advanced UAV voiceover. A voiceover line will now play when 3 enemy UAVs are used. Signaling an advanced UAV is active. I thought we already had that. I recall hearing that in-game, so I don't know what they're talking about there. Error messages for deploying boxes and gas. Players attempting to deploy munitions, armor, or utility boxes over 40 meters into the gas will now receive an error message. Endgame, trying to make a gas play, you gotta be within 40 meters. I guess even what that means is that, if we're honest about it, you can't just tank gas with utility boxes and muni boxes when the gas is completely cleared up, right? When there is nothing but gas, that's not going to work in theory. So that's going to have to make a bit of a tactical adjustment for some people trying to make that kind of play at the end game. Makes sense to me. I don't think it should just be a standoff of who's got the most muni boxes and can redeploy them and hit the most stims and that type of thing at the end game. I've never quite understood why that worked. I mean, I guess there is some tactical thing to it, but it just doesn't seem like it should be the way it is to me. I don't know. What do you think? New perk coming in, low profile. It's perk 1, increased movement speed while crouched and prone. Enemies you kill will not display a death markers for their allies, so their teammates won't know where you downed them. Grants a slight movement speed increase while downed. I don't know what impact that'll have, and it'll be unlocked via the Clover Craze event. So the St. Patty's Day stuff is where it'll get unlocked. I don't know how any of this matters. I don't think this thing is going to be usable or is going to be in the meta at all. Okay, adjustments. A fix for Mountaineer is set to launch shortly after the release of Season 2 Reloaded. Understand many players, blah, 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 blah. So they're going to be fixing it, hopefully. That was the plan. In practicality, the fix did not go live. What they actually did was they broke it working inside Specialist, because it stopped working in Specialist and never actually worked when it came to the regular game with that regular perk running. They did eventually fix it today, but it doesn't do anything. All reports are, everything out there, it's borderline useless. It gives you about a 5 or 6 meter add to your fall height before you take damage. So it really is borderline useless. Really what should be happening here is that it has a use, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be MW3 levels, but this level does nothing. Split the difference. There needs to be choices when it comes to which perks to use in each slot. There shouldn't be, hey, this is the part you use in this slot, full stop, right? Like, at this point, we all know what everybody's running in slot 1. Everybody's running Survivor. We know that that's the meta. There isn't a choice to be made in this slot. Mountaineer should have pushed to have Survivor make a choice with it. It didn't. Reactive armor. New description, your armor will regenerate up to 50% of its maximum if you have not taken damage in the last 5 seconds. Again, I still think this is a useless perk. Yay, having it in Specialist, then it's sort of useful. But again, waiting 5 seconds to get half my plates back, I'll already have started plating by then. You know what I mean? Like, pointless. Alertness. The indicator will always appear at the edge of the player's screen regardless of their HUD settings. Okay, so if you're like most people, you bring your HUD in tighter so you can see stuff going on around you, pulls your mini map in and everything like that, right? Well, what was happening is you're getting your bars in the middle of the screen rather than on the outside. So what they're saying is they're moving the lighting back to the outside of the screen. At least that's the way I read that, being more like what we were used to in the past with high alert. I mean, it's a change to it. We'll see how it goes. I guess if you had your hub bounds in like I do and like most people do, it was interfering with kind of sight lines. So I can see the change if you like to run alertness. I did run high alert MW3, but I haven't found the alertness works really well for me at all. Equipment adjustments, nothing major, just some adjustments to the experimental gas grenades, which those things are kind of broken. Adjusted movement speed penalties. Okay, with tactical resistance penalties 5 down from 25, and without it, penalties down to 15 down from 50. So what we're really looking at here then is that it's going to make it so that it's not as big a movement penalty when it comes to the gas grenades, slowing you down, making you feel like you're in mud. It's actually without tactical resistance is actually now less of an impact than with it was before. I think that's a good thing, so I really think that you're still able to play, and the perks that were to counteract it actually do their job. Again, going back to that, perk should have an impact thing. Basically the same adjustments made to the bunker buster. Keep it consistent that when you're in gas, whether it's bunker buster gas or the experimental gas, for sure. Okay, UAVs, they adjusted the distance in which the warning callouts when the UAV is triggered, so you'd hear enemy UAV, but you wouldn't get the red box around the mini-map. So they're trying to make them match so that it's consistent throughout them, because knowing that somebody called the UAV but it doesn't have an impact on you, I don't know how big of a deal that is. Makes sense. If you're not going into the UAV, you don't need a call out impeding, hearing footsteps or hearing other stuff when a UAV is called in. Makes sense to me. Weapons. The D3L Sector Special. A blade launcher? Sure. During the TMNT event, we'll see. Skateboard, melee, katanas, available on the Armory Unlock, bow staff, nunchucks, size, so you can have all the turtles, weapons, and get them. Looks like through Armory Unlock, TMNT events, they're going to be in the bundles, and you can have the skateboard as well. Okay, new weapon attachments, belt-fed event reward. So any of the 4 available LMGs, PU-21, XMG, GPMG, 7, Fang, with large holding of extra ammo continuously fed through weapons through sustained fire. So what that sounds to me, if you put it in, you don't actually have to reload. Whatever ammo you got, it keeps feeding. Now, there's going to be a trade-off there if I'm right, or the trade-off's going to be there regardless if I'm right or not. The thing about the LMGs is that they had the larger mag, so you didn't have to equip a mag on them, but they move slow. So that was kind of what you gained from having it move slow, was that, you had a 75, 100, 125 round mag on it, and you didn't have to reload as frequently. This, now you equip the mag, you can't use something else for recoil or ADS or something like that, but you just run through all your ammo. There's a trade-off there for sure. Depends on your play style. If you want to play faster, I tend to like to. Not going to be a great fit. Not that I ever use an LMG anyway, but if you're somebody who likes to sit on a rooftop this might be your jam. You know what I mean? Fire on that belt, just fire through 300 rounds. Could be annoying. We could be right back to an XM4 situation. Do you know what I mean? Like, depending on how this works and how it actually goes into play, we'll see what it looks like. General adjustments for Modern Warfare 2 and 3 weapons and attachments. Idle sway on all MW2 and 3 weapons. Reduced weapon bob on 2 and 3 weapons. And reduced turn sway on all. Okay. We'll see how... We don't have a percentage. We don't have an amount, so we don't actually know. It's good, theoretically. Could bring some Modern Warfare 2 and 3 weapons back into the meta, but without data and until we test it, we won't really know. I was reading some grumblings about how, say, the MTZ-556, its TTK was just lightning fast. It was about the second fastest there was. I think Goblin was the only one that beat it, so it was the fastest killing AR. But if it, that percentage of adjustment really doesn't keep it in line with the BO6 weapons, it doesn't really matter. We'll have to see. High velocity ammo, bullet velocity increase of 5%, and remove damage range. Okay, so that's good. Gun kick benefit increase from 5 to 12, recoil control. And so, I mean, I don't know many people running low grain. High velocity and high grain were always the one that it was. And with that, remove the gun kick and recoil control penalty on high grain. I think high grain is still the play if you're running an MW3 or 2 gun. But if you did want to reduce recoil, low grain you could run, because I mean, frankly, it removed the damage range and bullet velocity penalties. So there's a bit of a choice there, but again, it comes back to the usability and viability of the Modern Warfare 2 and 3 guns anyway. So we'll have to see. 8% bullet velocity benefit for round nose, remove I don't know, nobody was using that. Mono, interesting. Bullet velocity increase in the mono, and added a firing aim stability benefit. Remove gun kick and recoil. So the mono, I mean, we know how that became. There was that time where the meta was the D tier with the monos and just hammering through wallbang and everything. Could that be a thing? Absolutely. We'll have to see what it looks like, but sure. So they say the goal was to remove the penalties from most of the MW2 and 3 ammo types and make them less of a trade-off to take. I mean, we'll have to see on application how it actually works, but it looks like they have eliminated a lot of the trade-offs because frankly, they just said remove them. So again, we'll have to see how it actually works in-game, how big of a difference it makes. Okay, remove movement speed penalties on all MW2 and 3 extended mags. So there's been a lot of people running, and I have myself been going back to the Superi because of the movement and everything, the changes they keep making with it. Now there's even no movement penalty on the 40-round mag. Okay, we could have something broken there. Reduce handling penalties on extended mags. Remove penalties for medium-sized extended magazines on ARs and SMG. So removing penalties from all of these things. What about the Wasp Swarm with the 100-round mag? Right? There's no movement penalty now for that. That's something we're going to have to check out, I think, and just see what kind of happens. AK-74. So they've extended the middle range, extended the longer range, and added a little bit of damage to that longest range profile. Okay. I mean, it's a higher skill gun. It hits hard, right? It really does. But its recoil is a lot more aggressive than anything else out there. I think if you're more intermediate or like myself, like an average player, I don't know if this is the move, but it might be fun to try out, see if it is usable. The Cypher, which was starting to come into the meta at the end of Season 2, a lot of people were noticing it, especially for those of us Resurgence players. We're hyping it up. I was actually quite loving it quite a bit. What have they done? Extended that first damage range, second damage range, given it some extra damage at the minimum, and leg multiplier increased. Yeah, and this is what's happening. Is everybody saying the Cypher is the meta, and it definitely feels like it is. I know I've played with it a little bit yesterday and today. I have to agree. But they did fumble this because those damage range increases didn't even come out. So even when they're doing this stuff and making these adjustments, they're not going live right away. Like, this is the type of stuff that they have to stop doing. Don't tell us you're making these adjustments and then not have them live, right? Back to the Mountaineer thing. Stop it. Just keep... Why? If you're saying you're putting things live, put them live. Krieg C, increase to the initial damage range, 3 meters, no big deal. The last one, 5 or 6. minimum damage range. So, yeah, so I mean, like multiplier increase there. So that's the thing with the Krieg C. It doesn't theoretically matter if you're hitting body shots or leg shots. It's all the same thing. So I kind of liked the recoil of the Krieg and everything. It might be something to try. They definitely nerfed the Model L because it was taking over. Model L, it gets a nerf to damage on the minimum damage range and a buff to the furthest damage range, but that range gets lessened. That was one of the big things with it, was that it had that really long, only one damage drop off range, and they've shortened that a bunch. And the lower torso multiplier gets decreased, and bullet velocity decreased. Will definitely have an effect on the meta, but that range is going to change some things up. We'll have to see how it plays out. XM4, let's see. So they reduced the damage a couple of more points. Multipliers decreased, aim down sight speed, increase penalty. So it's aims down sight slower on the 100 round mag. Penalty increase. They're just nerfing the XM4. The XM4, they're trying to beat this thing into the ground finally, because we had it for 2 months. We're done with it, but that looks like what's happening there. GPR. So the CFA, a couple of barrels and rough fire that nobody is using or should ever use, so who cares? C9, slight damage range nerf, nothing major. And they removed that second range, so it doesn't exist anymore. It just goes from 31 to 24 at the 22 meter mark. There isn't that kind of third range in the middle anymore. And bullet velocity decreased on that one, so it could have a shakeup. Don't know if it's enough. We'll see what happens. But from all looks, there's some mixed on it so far. But it seems like it's still that strong choice on the meta there. Compact. An extra 3 meters on that damage range. That's big on that one. Aim down sight speed improvement. And upper torso multiplier increased slightly. That was one of the biggest things with the compact, was that shorter damage range. If you look at how its first range was only 10.5 compared to say the 13 of the C9. So I think that has helped that one a lot. I don't personally like the way this gun feels. I'm going to keep playing with it a bit, see how it goes, but it doesn't feel right to me. I don't like that. I'm not usually a guy who worries about feel so much, but I just don't like the way it feels, and it does bleed through ammo because the fire rate is so fast, which can be helpful for if you miss some shots here and there, but it doesn't feel good to me, and I'm not a huge fan of the irons either. I much prefer the irons on the C9. PP now on 9, small nerf to damage ranges, couple of points of damage. It was sort of in that middling range, so it's probably still, I don't know how much it's going to affect it, because it wasn't really a high pick in the first half of Season 2. A bit of change to the GPMG, moved damage range, increased some multipliers, aimed out sight speed improved. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of LMGs right now. They just feel so slow. It is a beam, but if you want to sit on top of a building, try out that belt feed attachment they're going to re-release next month. It might still be viable. The Fang just sucks. So pre-fire delay improved, slide to fire speed improved, dive to fire speed improved, ADS speed improved, movement speed improved, crouch movement speed improved. So they're trying to make that thing better. AEK increased the damage, bit of an increase to the range, and the mag size increased to 45 to 50. This is all with the full auto. It does have a ton of recoil though, so I don't really know how useful it'll be. It's probably going to be one of those high reward, high skill guns if anybody's even going to use it at all, but we'll see. SWAT, burst delay reduced. Okay. Sarkov, small improvement to shot queuing. Right, which helps with your second follow-up shots, things like that. That'll help if you're into like sort of that DMR, SVD. Nobody cares. The gun sucks. Bat, lunge distance increased on the bat. Knife, lunge distance, drill, so it increases to the lunge distance on all of those. The drills is 47%, but it's in line with the bat. Bug fixes. Fixed an issue where players were unable to tac sprint after switching to a melee weapon when their tac sprint was depleted. So when you had your melee out, your tac sprint wasn't regenning. Hopefully that's fixed. Fixed an issue where in controller or leaving water with melee. Yeah, switching weapons. That definitely caused all sorts of weird behavior. Issue where when entering water, same thing, it's the in and out of the water with weapons out and things like that, causing some weird stuff. Hopefully we fix that. Fix an issue where a player had throwing knives equipped and they wanted to swap to their dedicated melee, a throwing knife would override. Yeah, okay. Fix an issue where visual recoil was too intense on the Jack Jock. If you used that, I don't know many people who did. Fastback attachments resulted in an extra rechamber animation playing at the end of an empty reload. I think it was doubling up on them, so you'd get like double up and really just slowing down your full empty. The only way to really get around it was just to make sure you didn't fully empty your mag. Hopefully this helps. Kill streaks. Fix an issue where sometimes the warning call out would not apply to enemy when the player called in 3 UVs to activate advanced UV, like they were referring to earlier. They're noticing it was bugging, and they're saying more it was a sometimes, so okay, that makes a little more sense. Fix an issue where cluster missiles would look as though they were landing sideways. I don't really know how much that matters, but cool. Fix an issue where the precision airstrike danger close text would appear unexpectedly when ADSing with the airstrike marker. Yeah, kind of blocking your view of where you're trying to land that PA. Some UI stuff. Fix an issue where self-ping marker was missing. Now, whenever any title update, like a full season or a reloaded happens, we get bugs. We always do. They always screw it up. Some of the big things were things like the actual changes to the weapons didn't happen. Mountaineer was not working. Things like this, like it's just they don't get their shit together. We got some notes here about the adjustments to the following weapons that were previously communicated in the previous patch notes are now live. So we get to play the first day and a half of Reloaded without implemented into the game. Why? Mountaineer, we were talking about it earlier. It's not working properly. And when it does now, who cares? It sucks. But at least you can actually put it in your loadout if you want to, I guess. A couple of bug fixes in ranked, experimental grenades would be in ground loot, but they're supposed to be restricted, and where ranked play SR was not being awarded. Okay. Fixed an issue prevented Mountaineer port from being properly equipped. Fixed an issue that was causing slower than intended weapon swap and mantling speed. So a couple of more bug fixes this morning, but all in all, there's hope if all of these bug fixes that we've just discussed go into play and they help improve the game the way we'd hope. But the problem is, we're kind of all done with the hope at this point, aren't we? Like, it feels like they just don't listen to us. Like, they do whatever they want, they change shit we don't want. I'm hopeful, but let's just say I'm guarded about it. I'm not going to get my hopes up until I see this actual game in a state that's playable, free of all these 9 million bugs that we always have, unlike Fortnite, unlike Apex, unlike all these other games. Now I'm hoping that these bug fixes do all start coming to fruition, and that we do all get this all cleaned up, and we're able to have this game in a great spot for when Verdansk drops, theoretically on the 10th or 20th of March, depending on what they decide to do. Because of course, Season 3 starts on March 20th, but the 5-year anniversary of Verdansk was the 10th, so maybe they drop it early? We can hope. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this? How do you feel like Activision has been handling all these updates? How have they handled Warzone for you as a whole, as somebody who enjoys this game? Doesn't? Do you still play it? Are you one of these people who likes to comment on my videos and say I'm a joke because I still play the game? Let me know in the comments down below. If you found any of this useful or helpful to you at all, please like the video and subscribe and turn on the notifications so you can get more updates as we go. And as always, keep the energy high, the vibes positive. Until next time, spread the love, fam. We'll catch you in the next one.